Okay, so I've got confirmation now from David. Okay, I guess we'll start. I really don't know what I'm doing here, but I guess we'll just start going over my collection. Most of you, well, I don't know. I've gone through my shelves before and stuff, so people know more or less what I've got. But I'll just to get it out of the way. I have, of course, Lord of the Rings movies, extended edition because the other ones I've never watched. But and then I also have the little Argonath bookends. Um, I really, they're not really heavy enough to support a whole lot, but it's fun for me to have them. They mostly because they just look cool to me. So that's really what I've got. That's not bookish. I don't think I have anything else, and not that I can remember. And so that's where I'm at right now. But then I've also, let's see, what array are we going to go through this? I guess we'll just get over with this stuff first. So of course, I've showed you guys all plenty of times my illustrated edition of The Hobbit. This is the book that I got. This is the first Tolkien book that I owned. Hey, Graham, good to see you. So yes, this is the first Tolkien book that I owned. It was Christmas gift from my older sister, and it's illustrated. It's the one I've read. I've read it probably 5 times now. This edition, 4 or 5, something like that. I guess I also have a drawing of Boromir that Kate drew and gave to me one birthday. Probably can't see it super well. I don't really know how it's going. And Narsil, good to see you too. This is fun. All right. So that's my illustrated The Hobbit. Then I've also got the illustrated The Lord of the Rings that just came out. This beast is amazing. It's massive, but the having those illustrations in it is just adds to the experience so much, and it's just so much fun. I've been really enjoying reading through this. This is what I'm currently reading. I'm actually almost done with Return of the King. That's as much as I've got left of The Lord of the Rings. That includes the appendices, which I will probably read because, and I guess now is a good time to announce this is kind of going to be a year of Tolkien for me, which means basically I'm just going to read everything that as much as I can before the TV show comes out. I want it to get as much lore and as much knowledge and understanding of the basically of the Second Age. CD, good to see you. Yeah, so I wanted to get as much information and lore about the Second Age into my head as I could before the show came out, so I could kind of break it down. I don't know what to think of the show, and I'm going to judge it on its own merits once it actually comes out. But that's yeah, so that's why I'm going to read the appendices this time, even though I don't read them every time I read The Lord of the Rings. To continue with my Lord of the Rings, I've got my hardback set, which when you put all 3 of the books together, the covers make a bit of a mural. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, and I think that's the correct order. But it just shows, it's just got the mountain range and then a fell beast and then Gondor, or Minas Tirith to be specific. So yeah, that's I don't know. I really like this hardback edition, and I've read this once, and I will definitely be reading it again in the future. But then also my last edition of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit is this black, the ones with the black and the colors on them. So I've got the Silmarillion. This is my only version of the Silmarillion that I've got, which is this black and blue version. And I really like these editions. They're super nice. I don't know. They're, for some reason, there's just something about the way that they flop and the way that they feel in my hand and everything that feels really good. As much as I like the hardcover editions, they're really, I really like these paperback ones as well. To go with that, I've got The Hobbit, which I just got for Christmas, and I haven't read this edition of The Hobbit yet. This will be the one that I read this year, December 2022. So that's the next edition of The Hobbit that I'll be reading, unless I listen to an audiobook first, which I might. Then I also have the completed Lord of the Rings trilogy in this edition. I've got Fellowship of the Ring, which I got last year, 2 years ago. Two Towers, which I got last year, I think, probably for my birthday, and then I got The Return of the King this Christmas, or last Christmas, I guess, Christmas 2021. So now I have that completed edition for all 5 of those. I think they might have a Unfinished Tales in this style too, but I'm not positive about that. If they do, I'll need to get that to complete that collection. Okay, so then I've got Unfinished Tales. This is, I don't remember where I found this Unfinished Tales. Yes, they do. I agree. I don't know where I don't remember where I got this Unfinished Tales edition. It's just a hardcover edition. It's kind of beaten up. I think I probably got it from Valley Village or something like that. So just cheap. Got it. Either that or I got it for a present at some point. Either way, it's fine. It serves its purpose, and it's still in good condition, so I'm fine with that. I will probably get another edition of Unfinished Tales at some point. To go along with that is the Nature of Middle-earth, which is just released last year, and I got it for Christmas. I haven't read through this yet. I will be reading through this before the end of the year, hopefully, but we'll see how long the rest of all my Tolkien stuff takes. Then I've got these very, very pretty, I don't know, I really like the Alan Lee illustrations for these of kind of what I've heard referred to as the Christopher Tolkien trilogy, which is The Children of Húrin and Beren and Luthien and The Fall of Gondolin. I have so far only read The Children of Húrin. I don't even know if I've read this edition. I think I may have just read the one from my library, which is technically the same edition, but not this book, because this one's mine, and I read the libraries. I haven't read Beren and Luthien, and I haven't read The Fall of Gondolin yet, but I really need to. Yeah, I'm interested to see what all this metaphysics is that you keep talking about, Narcel. It's going to be fun to see. I guess we'll stay in Middle-earth real quick, and that we'll go over my the Histories of Middle-earth, which I've got volumes 1 through 5 in this edition, where it's just this small compact paperback edition. But I've got Book of Lost Tales Part 1, Book of Lost Tales Part 2, The Lays of Beleriand, The Shaping of Middle-earth, and then The Lost Road and Other Writings. These are like the title of them is, they're the Histories of Middle-earth, and there's a whole lot about them that I want to read. I use them at the moment mostly for resources to go in and learn about a little bit of the lore and stuff like that. For research is what I use them for. I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and read through them yet, but I definitely want to, and will probably do that pretty soon. I'm going to try and get through as much of them as I can this year. Okay, what else? Then I've got volumes, I think it's technically volume, 6, 7, and 8, and then part of volume 9. I'm not sure. I've seen some weird things with this copy, or with this what is it called? It's a edition or something like that. This box set, that's what I'm looking for, of Return of the Shadow, or the Return of the Shadow, the Treason of Isengard, and the War of the Ring. But then they also have a much smaller book that is the End of the Third Age, and I think the End of the Third Age is a part of one of the other books, but then with this specific box set, they took a portion of it and put it to its own book. I'm not positive about that. I'd have to go through and do some research again into it, but I do want to read these. I probably won't prioritize these ones because they have to do with the Third Age and the TV show is going to have to do with TV show has to do with the Second Age primarily. So that's most of what. Yeah, so I'm not really going to be prioritizing these 4 books at the moment. Yes, I've only got one edition of Silmarillion at the moment, but I'll show it to you real quick. That is this blue and black edition. I really like this book. It's such an interesting book. It's so deep and so hard to get through, but it's so great, and I love this edition. It's very nice. I would like to have a nice hardback edition, but I don't have one yet. I have to find one that I really like the cover of, basically, and I don't love the one that they have that's got like the mountains and everything. It just looks kind of bland to me, and it doesn't look quite as fun and interesting as I feel like most of the rest of Tolkien's books do. So yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much all of my Middle-earth at the moment. Then I've got Tales from the Perilous Realm, which does have some Middle-earth stuff in it. It's so it says it's got the 5 classic tales by the author Roverandom, Farmer Giles of Ham, or Giles of Ham, I'm not sure. The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, Smith of Wootton Major, and Leaf by Niggle. I have not read any of these, and I really want to. Plus, I love this cover. It's got a dragon on it. Of course, I love the cover. But I really want to go through. So I started looking through this book a little bit, and specifically looking through The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, and I didn't realize this, but it's basically just a bunch of Tolkien's poems. So it's got The Man on the Moon Stayed Up Too Late, The Man on the Moon Came Down Too Soon, and it's got a bunch of his poems that are seen throughout the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, and I want to go through and read them and just see how they all combine and everything, and why it's specifically called The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, because that's interesting. But yes, Tom's the best. I do want to get to these other ones. Leaf by Niggle is one of the ones that I've wanted to read for the longest. That and Roverandom. I do want to read Roverandom, but I feel like I'm going to enjoy Leaf by Niggle the most. Just the way that it was written and all the stuff that I've heard about it sounds so interesting, and I really want to get to it. Okay. Then I've got the story of Kullervo. This is an interesting one because it's basically, from what I understand, it is Tolkien's first attempt at a tragedy set at a tragedy, and it's very interesting. It's very well done, but it's unfinished, and there's a lot of it that we don't know. But it seems like it's kind of intended for Kullervo to be a bit of a ancestor to Turin, and Turin is the Children of Hurin is probably my favorite story set in Tolkien's world. I mean, it's interesting because story and book can be different, and that's how I use them. The Lord of the Rings is my favorite book. Well, the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit, and it depends on which book I'm talking about at the moment, what day it is, which one I say is my favorite book of all time. But when saying something's my favorite book, it has to go into the experience of reading it, into the how you feel when you're reading it, the feel of the book in your hands, even to some extent. And there's so much about it that goes into what makes a book my favorite book, whereas a story can be a little bit more, I just love this story above and beyond all other stories. And it's really weird, and I don't fully understand how I can say this, but The Children of Hurin is my favorite story, whereas The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, depending on the day, is my favorite book. But anyway, so Kullervo is supposed to be a ancestor to Turin in some ways, kind of the original attempts to write a tragedy in many ways. And I read it, it's quite a bit harder to get through than you would expect, but it's very good, and it's still got that atmosphere. Like, you feel like you're in the world that is being described. It's not really Middle-earth in that same way, but it's still very good, very fun. Okay. I am seeing you guys' comments, and I'm not entirely sure how to pull them up. I'm still trying to figure out all this live stream stuff. How do I go back to this? I don't know. So this one? There it is. Okay. And I also don't know how to pull up the comments. I'll have to keep trying, maybe play around a little bit before I log off and shut off the stream. But I've got 2 more books. The first one is my Tolkien Biography by Humphrey Carpenter. I haven't read this yet. I really want to, and I really need to, but I haven't gotten to it yet. This is, the full title is The Authorized Biography of the Creator of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and Silmarillion, Tolkien by Humphrey Carpenter. So I would like to get to this as soon as I can, but it's not really something that is extremely pressing to me. I want to get through Tolkien's works and learn as much about that stuff as I can before I make this my focus. And then the last book I've got is Pictures by j.r.r. Tolkien. This, I've used this as a reference way too many times already since I got it for Christmas. And I mean, it's just a lot of the pictures, a lot of the same illustrations as we see in the illustrated Hobbit and the illustrated Lord of the Rings. But there's some other things. I mean, like this is, well, that's the type of stuff that it is most of the time. It's all really that same, the same illustrations that we're seeing. But at the back, closer to the end, there's a whole bunch of stuff that it goes through besides just Tolkien, or besides, it goes through The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion, and then it gets into some of his other things like Father Christmas letters and stuff like that. So there's quite a bit of that, but this is the one that I have been using the most, and it is just a reference for heraldic devices of the various characters. So it shows the device of Melian or Finwë or Beren or Finn or whatever. There's a whole bunch of them there, and it's, when you read through certain parts of the Lord of the Rings, I noticed it specifically in the Barrow Downs. There's one mention of a brooch or something that Tom takes for Goldberry, and the way it's described, I came to this heraldic devices to see if there was something about that specific thing in this book, or if that description of the brooch matched the description of any of these devices, and it's close, and I don't remember whose it was. I feel like it might have been Melian, which is very interesting if it is. But anyways, I've just gone to this book and used it, and it's so fun and so interesting to just be able to look through and have them all in a dedicated place, so I can just there's information and stuff about all these pictures, but I haven't really read through it all. I've just looked at it and looked through the pictures. Liam, it's good to see you. Yeah, his artwork is amazing. I really love his artwork. It's, people pretend like Tolkien wasn't anything more than a brilliant writer and a brilliant philologist, but his art may not be at the same quality as some others, but he's a very, very good artist and a very, very good poet. Yeah, so anyways, that's the last book that I've got, but it's so much fun to just look through this. This is Glowering on the front, and I really love everything about this book, and will definitely be looking more through it and using it more as I continue to go along. All right, so that is the extent of my Tolkien collection. I'm going to spend some time working on trying to figure out a little bit more about live stream stuff. If you guys are interested in staying, I'm more than happy to keep talking to you. But I'm gonna play around with a little bit more things. I'll probably, if I get it figured out soon enough, I'll probably not cut too much of what is this last part that I'm just sitting here playing around with stuff. But yeah, that's where we're at. That's what I'm gonna continue doing right now. I see that there's a new comment. Let's see. I wonder what Tolkien would have made of his legacy and how much he's influenced those who came after. Yeah, I agree. He's kind of the obvious choice when I hear an answer like what, or hear a question along the lines of who do you wish was still alive to see the effects that their works have produced. He's kind of the obvious answer for me, but I think he already started to see that as he was before he died. He was, I mean, when he published The Hobbit in 1937, that was in the UK. He didn't expect a whole lot from it, but after he published it in 1938, or after it was published in the US in 1938, it was his. He started getting all this fan mail and just people writing to him, talking to him, asking him questions, trying to learn more about his worlds. And he realized then that he never thought that his works would have such a cultural impact. And yet already at that time, the first year that they were published in the US and in the wider world around, just rather than just the UK, he was starting to get so much feedback and learning how much he loved it. Then with the release of The Lord of the Rings and his work on his other series and stuff, you can hear in some of the interviews that he talks about how he never expected people to enjoy his works, but if that's what he's remembered for, that's great. He's more than happy with it. And there's so much interesting stuff about Tolkien, and I would have loved to be able to sit down and talk with him, but it's obviously not gonna, couldn't happen. Time travel doesn't exist. So yeah, that's where, I don't know, but yeah, thanks for coming, CD. I'm happy that you came, and it's fun to sit here and talk to you guys and hear your feedback a little bit as I was talking. All right, let's see if I can figure this